Travis Wingoodsell. In Plato's Republic, there is the allegory of the cave. And I'm hopeful that the majority of you have heard of it, if not read it yourself, and know what it's about. It's a philosophical discussion about why human behavior resists seeking for the truth, as they have people chained to a wall, and all they can see is the wall opposite them as they watch shadows, not knowing that they're shadows, as they think that the shadows are the reality. And then Plato has a guy who breaks free of his chains and sees that the shadows are being caused by something behind them with a campfire. And then Plato goes on and says, well, there's even more to existence as he leaves the cave. But then Plato warns us that those who break free of the chains, if we go back to those who are chained and try to tell them of what we now know as true, that those who are chained will not only not believe, but will want to murder that person for telling them something that they don't know is true. That's the human behavior dilemma. This is exactly what happens with Mormons. Mormons are brainwashed to the church. They are loyal to the church. And as part of the loyalty, they believe anything and everything that they are told and don't bother to say, hey, wait a minute, this contradicts this other information you gave me. and as a result, Mormons are in chains from the brainwashing. Because if Mormons do start to question and say, hey, well, this contradicts this other passage, well, then church leaders are ordered, or they know how to keep pulling the puppet strings by turning it on the Mormon who questions by saying, oh, you just need to have faith, you're not showing faith, blah, blah, blah. And this brainwashing is normalized. We've heard a lot about that under Trump by the news media. And I'm not happy about it, because they too are trying to brainwash Americans, regardless of whether it's Fox News calling about normalization or whether it's liberal media calling for normalization. And like the press, who are trying to brainwash their audience, the church likewise. They create a new normal for each and every single president of the church. And with Benson's, I can't remember, Fundamentals of a Prophet that he gave at BYU as an apostle, which means we're not supposed to accept his as doctrinal commandment. But nonetheless, Mormons violated that to justify the new normals that occur with each and every single new president of the church. And they don't think to say, wait a minute, if I only follow the current president of the church, I then have to denounce the Book of Mormon. I have to denounce the words of Jesus. And Mormons don't think that far. They just think for the instant. They don't think of the big picture. They don't see where their thinking will lead them. This is the brainwashing. It's because Nelson and whoever becomes the new presidents of the church are the ones who are leading the Mormons down specific paths. And Nelson himself has openly confessed of what he is doing. He's started from the beginning saying, follow the covenant path. And Mormons go, oh yeah, temple, covenants in the temple, the path, yeah. Oh, it's like the tree of life path. Oh yeah, follow the prophet, okay. And they don't think, what are the covenants of the temple? I give loyalty to the church over America. I give loyalty to the church over America. Did you not understand that? Do I need to go over it with you? Law of obedience, law of the gospel, law of sacrifice, law of chastity, law of consecration. Do I need to go over those with you? You should know those. But once the president of the church has normalized things, in other words, has brainwashed people into his system of things, he then is able to go in the direction he wants and have the loyalty of Mormons to follow him down the rabbit hole. And that's what's called the new normal. As you remember, Nelson brought that out in the last conference, along with his horrible mistranslation of Israel. And if you don't understand, it's because you don't know translation of Hebrew. And you may go to somebody who will say, oh yes, that can be one of the translations. Again, that's all part of the brainwashing. Nelson is trying to present a new normal for translation of Hebrew, taking us away from the actual translation given in the text of the Bible by misinforming us. It's talking about the prophecy of the latter-day Messiah, who is to come through Israel, Jacob, instead of Esau, who was supposed to be the one with the birthright blessing, which was usurped by Jacob. And so it has nothing to do with prevailing, other than Jacob prevailed, having conquered, and therefore the Messiah is to come through him. And so, yes, that's why a lot of the Messiah's ancestors have such troubled pasts. And the danger with the brainwashing happens during crises. We have a coronavirus crisis. And what is Nelson doing? Instead of protecting Mormons, protecting the flock, as he's the shepherd, he's supposed to protect the flock physically, not only spiritually. This is where he's deceiving Mormons. Is he's saying, well, I'm the president of the church, and therefore I have a responsibility for the spiritual well-being of Mormons, not the physical. He doesn't want to take care of the physical well-being of Mormons. Yes, they have a bishop's storehouse. Yes, they have LDS charities. Yes. But none of it comes from their money. It's all donated money, of which they take 10% to invest in their money, to add to their pile of gold. And that's what Mormons don't get because of the brainwashing. They think, oh, yeah, this is to build Zion. And they forget that Zion is them, the people. Not the church, not the organization, not the establishment. This is where the news gets it wrong. Is we don't care about the establishment. We can change the establishment and have a better society. But what we don't want is somebody to come along, destroy the establishment with anarchy, with slavery, with oppression. And that's what everybody's forgetting. We don't want to return to the previous abuses. But that's what the news is trying to tell us, at least the liberal media. Oh, we need to restore normalcy. Because Trump has created a new normal. But yet the Democrats were complaining about the normal conditions before Trump. It's all part of the brainwashing, and that's the same with the church. And so when Mormons have had enough, I can't take this anymore, the church isn't true, I'm out. They take the brainwashing with them. I'm sorry, guys, you do. I know the majority of you are ex-Mormon. You still incorrectly believe what the church has been brainwashing you to believe in. That's part of the baggage that you've been forced to carry. For example, how many of you left because you heard that Joseph Smith raped a 14-year-old girl? Oops, you've been brainwashed. How many of you left because you believe Joseph Smith is not a translator? Oops, you've been brainwashed. How many of you left because you believe Joseph Smith was a racist? Oops, you've been brainwashed. This is how effective they are at brainwashing you. They're good at it. And so they don't care if you go around telling the world that Joseph Smith was a 14-year-old girl rapist, or that he's racist, or that he's a polygamist. They don't care, because it distracts from the truth that they don't want you to know. And so, yeah, they'll say, oh, yeah, critics, if they don't like it, they need to take it to court, because they've already rigged the court. And so they know they're going to get a favorable outcome and silence you. They don't want you protesting. That's why they excommunicate people who have been brainwashed but are attacking the church. Because the regular Mormons also believe that Joseph Smith was a 14-year-old girl rapist, that he's racist, that he's a polygamist. But the difference is that Mormons accept it, and you didn't. But the church uses that to keep Mormons fully brainwashed. Because when you come out and say it's horrible that Joseph did this and that, then they say, no, he's a true prophet of God, and I'm going to stick with him. That's great, you want to stick with Joseph, but you're sticking with the wrong Joseph. That's how they use you as ex-Mormons against Mormons, to solidify the brainwashing of Mormons. They're using you as puppets still. And that's why they won't excommunicate me. They want me dead instead. But they can't do it themselves. They have to get other people to do it for them. And so, if they can get you brainwashed, then you're going to be like John Dehlin, who says, I may go back to the church, but they won't take me. See, John Dehlin's gotten brainwashed. He's a psychologist, and he's been brainwashed. Because you don't go back to your abuser. That's Stockholm Syndrome. And so, with Nelson coming out this Friday to say, oh, just have faith in Jesus and coronavirus will be cured, all your problems will disappear, everything will be fine, your spiritual and mental health will be restored. What's going on is externally caused. It's not internally. It's not in our brains. It's not a mental illness. Even though psychologists have been foaming at the mouth going, oh yeah, we've created a new mental illness, 2020 election anxiety syndrome. They've named it. But it's fake. It doesn't exist because it's an external problem that we can't control. And they want us to normalize it, to just accept it. This is the way things are. There's nothing we can do about it. No. That's what the election was intended to be. And it didn't work, did it? I warned you guys. Don't wait for the election. It's a deception trap. And so as a result, Nelson, he caused coronavirus among Mormons. He was slow to shut the church down, and that resulted in an increase in cases and deaths. And then when he shut it down, Mormons then were brainwashed into denying the Book of Mormon as prophets got out in the public realm and started speaking against not being able to assemble at church during a viral pandemic. And so then that put pressure on government leaders to open up businesses and church for the church. And then the church says, oh, it's okay to open church? Okay, well, we want our Mormons to be safe. We can now open up church, guys. We're going to slowly increment it because we are concerned about your safety. It keeps getting worse. And they're talking about wanting us to be safe to go back to church. We don't need church. The Zoramites tell us we don't need church to worship God. And yet Mormons have been brainwashed. And as a result, people are dying. And as a result, people are hating me for having gone out of the cave and seeing a whole new world. And coming back and saying, hey guys, you're chained. You want to murder me. Maybe not as much as ex-Mormons as Mormons, I hope. But Plato was right. And as a result of the increase with the church opened, they're not shutting it down anymore, are they? New York is, because Cuomo cares about New Yorkers. He saw an outbreak. They're still number 4 least in the nation now, after being number 1 for so long. And already he's shutting it down. He's not taking chances at putting children's lives at risk, so he's shutting down the schools. Utah? Nope, it's up to the school districts. And the school districts were forced to shut the schools, having 33 kids for a class and only having 6 showing up because they're all sick and dying. And then Herbert blames you guys. That the suffering from coronavirus is on you now, when he and Nelson caused it. They turned it on you to make you feel guilty. And because you're brainwashed, you believe and trust them. That's why you don't want to wear a mask. That's why you want to go around and murder people. Because you don't see the virus. You're not murdering anybody. You're using your agency as you believe. And you're using your agency to take away the agency of others. You're a murderer for the church, for Governor Herbert, for the national executive. And you're using a viral weapon to do it. This is the warning that I gave you guys. And with Nelson coming out on Friday saying you just have to have faith in Jesus and you'll be cured, you'll be restored financially, you'll prosper as you remember to give the church money. If you don't get cured, if you don't recover financially, then Nelson has already brainwashed you into believing that it's your fault, that you didn't have strong enough faith, that you didn't pray hard enough, you didn't study your scriptures enough, you weren't as strong in the faith. Because he washes his hands. Oh, it's not on me. I'm leading you to Christ. I'm the president of the church. If you remember The Man in the Iron Mask with Leonardo DiCaprio, as he tells the woman, oh, I'm not a sinner, I'm the king, I am God's representative. You are the sinner. You are going to burn in hell, not me. And so then she goes and kills herself. Because she was brainwashed. Know the cause, which means you need to break free of your chains and see the big picture. Without it, you're lost.